Welcome to Mindful Present Tense, the podcast series where we explore insights from books to give us a little more awareness of the present and now. I'm your host of today, Lucas. Today we'll be diving into a book for our teacher friends. Now you might be wondering, a book for teachers? Then that's not my cup of tea. But bear with me for just a second. That's exactly what this book is reminding us. As teachers with a lot of expertise and experiences, we may always feel that our cup of tea is full. However, when stress, deadlines, and administrative work are emptying our cups of tea, it's common for our cups to be empty. Empty of attention, empty of compassion, empty of emotional support for others in need. We can't pour anything out of our empty cup, can we? The book of the day is called Mindful Teacher, Mindful School. Improving Wellbeing in Teaching and Learning by Kevin Hawkins. If we want to teach our next generation to be resilient, considerate, and empathetic, we have to first begin with filling the cups of our current generation, our teachers. Just a refresher for all of us, mindfulness includes practices of having awareness of the now and present moment of life, being non-judgmental, while showing acceptance and loving kindness to ourselves. And some details about the author. Kevin Hawkins writes from his lived experiences as an expert in mindfulness, but more importantly, as a traveler in this journey. He has been teaching for years and knows exactly what challenges teachers are facing. On top of that, he has also founded a Mindful Education, devoting efforts to training educators, and this book is his practical handbook from the lessons learned. Hawkins doesn't just plainly describe mindfulness, he presents many actionable suggestions we can all follow to add a bit of mindfulness to our lives. Let's practice one of them together, the 7-11 breathing technique. Take a deep breath. Breathe in for 7 seconds. Focus on your bodily sensations and anchor on your breath. Then breathe out for 11 seconds. Feel more relaxed now? This technique quickly shifts your focus from the nervousness and anxiety of upcoming events to your current breath and your whole body here and now. Another simple act is gathering yourself to be present. Instead of rushing to your destination or workplace in the very last minute, which only makes you more exhausted and annoyed, leave earlier. Take your time to arrive 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. Then sit down and mindfully take a few breaths to calm yourself and refresh yourself before you start your tasks. Other than the many individual level mindful practices, Hawkins also proposes 2 systemic changes to our education sector. First and foremost, mindfulness is the foundation, a basic skill for every teacher and student. As Philip Golden's quote goes, parents and teachers tell kids 100 times a day to pay attention. But how? We never teach them. Mindfulness is the how, as Hawkins proposes. We are all familiar with how our education system is shaped as output-oriented, focusing on performance and achievements. But we never mention the processes from inputs to outputs. It is mindfulness that supports our children from maintaining concentrated on a maths question to being aware of an emotional turbulence they are in. Secondly, mindfulness shouldn't be taught in isolation. It should be integrated with the social-emotional learning or SEL framework, since Hawkins advocates that the context of social and emotional skills and the overall well-being is where mindfulness receives greater relevance at school. Mindfulness skills come as more useful when they resonate with the 5 categories in the SEL framework, particularly self-awareness and relational skills. Mindfulness practices give us the self-awareness anchor to notice ourselves getting angry before really bursting out, while the SEL skills teach us the strategies to communicate and reconstruct our anger. This is where mindfulness and the SEL framework is best synergized, complementing each other for the effective process of social-emotional regulation. Of course, there is no one-size-fits-all solution for any issues in general. While it is good that Hawkins ambitiously proposes mindfulness in school settings, it is important not to overlook the issues of universal school-based intervention programs. Andrew and Fuchs actually raised concerns towards the practicality of school-based mindfulness because students may display different emotional issues in the same classroom. Applying the same practices to different students, some without any symptoms, some with elevated mental issues, and some already diagnosed with clinical disorders, is as ineffective as prescribing the same pair of glasses to those with perfect vision, those with short-sightedness, and those with eye infections. Chances are that there may even be negative results of such school-based practices like poorer child-parent relationships, or they are not well accepted by students who are somehow forced to sit here for hours every week without their choices of participation. Putting Hawkins' framework into the Hong Kong educational context, particularly in the post-COVID period and the era of artificial intelligence or AI, a more flexible approach, instead of one-size-fits-all, should be used to adapt to local academic pressures and cultures. The disruption of learning pace due to the pandemic, although a few years ago, has reinforced the catch-up mentality of teachers and students to prioritize academic over other extracurricular activities like mindfulness. We will have to emphasize and explain that mindfulness is in fact helping academic performance, rather than wasting time and resources, as many may believe. Meanwhile, in the age where AI is so prevalent in our lives, the human role of teachers actually shifts from purely delivering textbook information to students to maintaining relationships, providing emotional guidance, and mentoring students as our peers. This aligns perfectly with Hawkins' emphasis on teaching mindfully, where the physical presence of teachers as shelters of students, their empathy and relationship building, things AI cannot provide, are valued more than before. More so, as the book title goes, Mindful Teacher, Mindful School. We need a mindful teacher before a mindful school. And certainly, we have to educate the whole teacher first before we can educate the whole child. An example from the book illustrates that teachers cannot guide their students to focus on their anchors if the teachers themselves have not learned how to anchor on their own breaths, or if they are not mindful of their own stress and emotional regulation. As a counselor comments, practice. Without your own genuine practice, this won't work. Teachers without personal experiences in mindfulness are paper strategies. Solely reading the mindfulness instructions from a handbook is never without resistance when guiding students to be mindful. In case of an emergency, ensure that your own oxygen mask is fitted correctly before helping others. Sounds familiar, right? That's a typical sentence you'll hear in in-flight safety videos on airplanes. Hawkins quotes the same powerful analogy in his book. It's easy for all of us, not only teachers, but also parents, leaders, or any audience in general, to help others in need before caring for our own needs. But what about this? If you pass out first from lacking oxygen, you can't help with the person next to you. This takes us back to where we begin our podcast today. If we are empty of attention, empty of compassion, empty of emotional support, we simply can't pour anything from our empty cup. The important message behind the whole book is that self-care is never the opposite of care for others. It's the very foundation to model self-awareness and help others develop their mindfulness skills. For Hawkins, the oxygen flow is personal mindfulness experiences. Make sure we have our own oxygen first before we can help anyone out there. Pivoting from the book tailored for teachers, Hawkins, in fact, is advocating that finding your own inner peace isn't any selfish action. Having tried out mindfulness is the most crucial step of holding your own tools in readiness to show up fully when your loved ones need your support. And that's the book called Mindful Teacher, Mindful School, Improving Wellbeing in Teaching and Learning by Kevin Hawkins. Hope you can also feel your bodily sensations when reading the book. Tune in next time for another inspiration book. Peace.